Today I have a bit of a different video because it's all my opinion. We're going to be talking about my favorite player on every single MLB team. Now, like I said, this is all my opinion, so if you have a different favorite player on a team, let me know in the comments section because I'm always interested in hearing different stories about different players. And with that being said, let's get into the NL West and start with the Los Angeles Dodgers. For the Dodgers, I gotta go with Shohei Ohtani. I know that there's the rumors surrounding him right now with some allegations about gambling and everything going on with Epe, his translator, and I understand all of that stuff is crazy. Shohei is the savior of baseball right now, and he's just the most fun player to watch. If you add on his humble attitude for the most part, and his just very likable personality, he's my favorite player on the Dodgers. Moving on to the San Diego Padres, I have one of my favorite players in baseball history, and that's Xander Bogaerts. As a Red Sox fan, Xander Bogaerts was my favorite player for a very long time. Even when Mookie Betts was on the roster, I was always gravitating towards Xander Bogaerts as my favorite player on the roster. He's actually the player that got me into baseball, and now I'm very deep into baseball, so you can thank Xander Bogaerts for any one of these videos. Since he's not on the Red Sox anymore, I probably can't label him as my favorite player in baseball. However, I think he is my favorite non-Red Sox still to this day. I love Xander Bogaerts so much. His style, his play, just everything about Bogaerts, I just love him. For the San Francisco Giants, we have a player that is brand new on that roster in Jorge Soler. I just love home runs. That's all I can say. Jorge Soler hits some of the hardest and furthest home runs in baseball, and I love watching it. Blake Snell's also up there. He's a great guy. He does a lot for the community that he lives in. If you've ever seen one of his videos of him playing MLB The Show or something, he's a very funny dude. But Jorge Soler, he's my favorite on the Giants. Moving on to the Arizona Diamondbacks, my favorite player is Gabriel Moreno. Now, that might be a bit of a weird one because they have guys like Corbin Carroll and even like Christian Walker, but I don't know. There's just something about the players on that roster. I like watching them. They just don't really excite me that much. I like how Moreno has like that fun catcher attitude. I don't really know how to explain it. There's just something about him. Flips the bat a lot. He's just fun to watch, and especially as a young catcher, I really like it, and I really like him. And finishing out the NL West, we have the Colorado Rockies, and I'm going to be talking about outfielder Nolan Jones. Again, this is a bit of a weird one. People would probably pick Chris Bryant or Charlie Blackmon, who I also am a big fan of those two, but there's something about Nolan Jones's home run power and just the arm strength that he has. I love watching guys throw people out at home, and Nolan Jones is the best at that in all of baseball. He also hits some of the furthest home runs in baseball because he plays at Coors, and he's hit a couple of big walk-offs and a couple of game-tying home runs against the Yankees, which is always a bonus point for me. So Nolan Jones, I'm a big fan. Let's move over to the AL East now, and I'm going to be talking about my favorite team and my favorite player in baseball right now, the Boston Red Sox, and that is Jarren Duran. Now, I know it's definitely not the biggest superstar in the world. However, his story, his dedication, and just the way he plays is my favorite player in baseball. He's been very open with mental health issues and the way he treats them, which I think is great, and athletes should really use their platform like that as often as humanly possible, and Duran does it very often, which gives huge bonus points for me. Also, his speed and electricity on the base paths is just one of the most electric things in the league. In one of his first career games, I saw him hit an inside the park home run, and let me just tell you, that guy flies around the bases. You don't understand unless you've seen it in person. That guy is a monster. And I just love Jarren Duran, my favorite player in baseball. Moving on to the Baltimore Orioles, even though they're a 1 seed, they don't have too many great options because the players just haven't been around for that long on this team. Cedric Mullins and Anthony Santander are two of their longest tenured players, and they're pretty new, but I have to go with their catcher, Adley Rutschman. I just like Adley a lot. He's the best catcher in baseball already, probably, and he's just made a huge impact on the game and the city of Baltimore in just his first 2 seasons. So that's basically it. He's just a great player. I like Adley a lot. Moving on to the Blue Jays. For a long time, it was Vladimir Guerrero Jr. However, recently, I think Bo Bichette has overtook him as my favorite. Bo Bichette just has that shortstop style going along with him. The flowing hair, just the smooth defense, even if he's not the best defender, and just one of the best right-handed swings in the game. And there aren't very many good right-handed swings, so I really like Bo. I like his approach. I like that he's willing to go the other way, and I just like how he plays. plays. Bo Bichette's my favorite on the Blue Jays. Moving on to the Tampa Bay Rays, a team that I really do not like, I'm going with the relief pitcher Jason Adam. This might be the weirdest player on the whole list because a lot of people might not even know who this guy is, but he's a really good relief pitcher with a really funky windup, and it just makes me like him. I've gone in the backyard a lot of times and thrown pitches like Jason Adam, and even when I pitch like him, my pitches break better. So personally, I just like Jason Adam the most. I don't have very many options for Rays, so let's go Jason Adam. And for my bitter rival, the New York Yankees, who am I going with? It's not one of the big three, although I do like all of Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, and Garrett Cole. But my favorite player on that team is Oscar Gonzalez. He might not even make the roster. I don't even know if he's still on the roster at this point, but I don't care. He's my favorite player on the Yankees. He had a walk-off single against the Yankees in the 2022 playoffs, which I remember very vividly, and it made me very happy. And his nickname is SpongeBob, and he has people showing up to the field in SpongeBob costumes. You can't get much better than that. I mean, that's awesome. I love Oscar Gonzalez because of that. Let's move on to the NL Central, and I'm going to be talking about the Cincinnati Reds. And I don't think that this is a hot take, but my favorite player on Cincy is Elly De La Cruz. How can you not love the game that Elly plays? From his bat flips, his extreme power, and his otherworldly speed, there's nothing better than watching Elly Mania. It's just the best. Elly De La Cruz absolutely mashes when he's at his best, and he's just one of the fastest players in baseball, if not the fastest. Watching him steal home last year was just so fun, and he hits 480-foot home runs. He's just the whole package in terms of fun baseball, and I love Elly. I hope he breaks out, and I hope he wins NL Rookie of the Year, because he is great. Moving on to the Chicago Cubs, Christopher Morel. For some reason, one of my friends really liked this guy for a long time, and it was kind of a meme. But after last year, I think everyone should like him. The way he plays with so much emotion on his sleeve and hits absolute tanks. I mean, how could you not love that? His defense isn't good, but who cares when it's somebody like Morel? You gotta love the passion. You gotta respect it. I'm not a huge fan of the St. Louis Cardinals or many of their players. I used to really like Nolan Arenado, but he's gotten a little bit boring for some reason, in my opinion. So I'm going with their starting pitcher, Lance Lynn. This is a really weird pick. However, I like Lance Lynn. He's really funny when he's pitching. He loves swearing at the camera when he's pitching and like cussing out batters that he strikes out. It's just really funny, and that's the only reason why I'm picking him. I don't really have too many other options for the Cardinals. There are a couple of players that I like, but none of them I can really put as my favorite, so I'm putting Lance Lynn. For the Brewers, this is a player that I've wanted the Red Sox to trade for forever. It's Willy Adames. Willy Adames is sick. Just his fielding ability and his power is such a fun combination for a shortstop, and he's just awesome. That's all I'm gonna say about him. He's just awesome. I just love Willy Adames. I love watching him play. And finally, the Pirates. And this is extremely similar to Elly De La Cruz. It is O'Neal Cruz. They might have the same last name, but their play style is almost the same as well. O'Neal Cruz is extremely fast and has the StatCast hardest hit ball ever, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. He hits baseballs absolutely ridiculously hard, and it is so fun to watch. Plus, he's otherworldly on the base paths, and he throws harder than anyone in baseball. His throws from shortstop are just mind-numbing. It is so fun to watch him play shortstop, it's so fun to watch him run, and it's most fun to watch him in the batter's box. I hope he really breaks out and lives up to his full potential in 2024. Of course, now we're going on to the AL Central, and we are going to be talking about the Guardians. I wanted to put Steven Kwan, however, I really like Josh Naylor. Kind of the same reason as Lance Lynn. He's just funny. Josh Naylor hit a grand slam one time and just ran around the bases screaming, "Keep feeding me," or something like that, and it's just so funny. He plays with so much emotion, and he just always wants to be the best. He also rocked the baby on the Yankees, which was really funny because, again, it's the Yankees, so I like watching them lose, and that's just funny. But apart from that, Josh Naylor just hits really far home runs, and I just like him a lot. For the Kansas City Royals, I'm going with outfielder Hunter Renfroe. Another weird choice. You might be catching on to a trend at this point in the video. I like power hitters. I like watching home runs. I like speed. I like good defense. Hunter Renfroe makes some insane catches in right field, which is weird because it's Hunter Renfroe, but he does. And he also hits some of the furthest home runs you'll ever see and just has one of the best swings as a right-handed hitter. It looks like he's actually trying to break down the stadium every time he swings at a baseball, and I love it. For the White Sox, they don't have any good options at all other than Luis Robert. And Robert's the same thing as Hunter Renfroe. He makes good plays in center field and he hits tanks. That's the reason why I like Luis Robert. There's no other options. For the Detroit Tigers, Tariq Skubal is one of my favorite pitchers in baseball. He is electric. His stuff is incredible and he throws so hard for left-handed pitchers. He is a very fun player to watch play baseball, and I hope he wins Cy Young in 2024, which I think has a serious chance of happening. And finally, for the Central, the Twins, and I'm going with Johan Duran. I'm not the biggest fan of the Twins or their players. I don't know what it is, they just don't excite me that much. However, Johan Duran coming in and throwing 104 miles per hour with 100-mile-per-hour sinkers, that's unfair and just ridiculous and so cool to watch every time he takes the mound. So I'm going with Duran. Moving on to the final region, we have the East. And of course, we're going to be starting with the NL because that's how the rest of the video has gone. For the Mets, I gotta go with Edwin Diaz, mainly because of the trumpets. In 2022, when Edwin Diaz was running out with trumpets blaring in the background about to save games, was there anything better than Narco playing? I don't think so. It was so much fun. Citi Field was rocking like never before, and I hope it happens again in 2024. It was just electric. Closer walkouts are just so fun. And Edwin Diaz was the pinnacle of a great one, so go Edwin. The Miami Marlins, this is definitely a player that gets overhated. I'm going with Jazz Chisholm Jr. Jazz is really fun. Should he have been the cover of MLB The Show 23? Probably not. Is he extremely fun to watch, plays with a ton of passion, plays good defense, speed, and has a lot of power? Yup. Just watching him round the bases after a home run is like must-see TV. He's going to do a Euro step. He's probably going to do some jump. He's probably going to point somewhere. He's probably going to do something, flip the bat. You never know what he's going to do, but he's probably going to do all of those things all at once. Jazz is just an athlete, and I like watching him play baseball. Add that with the personality, one of my favorites, and my favorite on the Marlins. For the Nationals, this is a player that I've always really liked, even though he was a Yankee at one point. It's Joey Gallo. I think eventually James Wood will become my favorite player on the Nationals. However, right now Joey Gallo is actually on the team and James Wood is not, so I have to go with Gallo. I don't need to say it again. He hits very far home runs and it's fun to watch. That's the reason. For the Atlanta Braves, we are going boring. Ronald Acuna Jr. For a long time, he's been one of my favorite players in baseball. I bought his jersey back in 2019 when he wasn't even that great. However, I've always been a fan of him. Just the way he presents himself, his bat flips, the speed. 73 stolen bases last year is ridiculous. 40 plus homers last year is ridiculous. He hits absolute moonshots and he just celebrates like no one else. He's just an electrifying performer. It's so fun to watch. And moving on to the Philadelphia Phillies, I have Bryce Harper. Now, I used to hate Bryce Harper. When I was first becoming a baseball fan, Bryce Harper was not my favorite player at all. I think actually he was my least favorite player. However, since moving to Philadelphia, Bryce Harper is on a hero's arc and it's fun to watch. Bryce is just electrifying. You can't deny it. Even if you're not the biggest Bryce Harper fan, you know he's electrifying. He plays with so much passion. He's been baseball's wonder child before, and it's kind of back. And there's just so much about Bryce Harper that you have to love. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer when he retires, and I just really like Bryce Harper. And moving on to the AL West, of course we're gonna be talking about the Los Angeles Angels, and of course we're gonna be talking about Mike Trout. When Mike Trout plays, he's just one of the most fun players to watch. I don't need to explain why I like Mike Trout. I think everyone likes Mike Trout. Let's just hope he's healthy for 2024, carrying that Angels roster. For the Oakland A's, I'm going with a rookie, and it's gonna be Zach Geloff. Who else would I say for Oakland? Oakland doesn't really have the most fun players ever, but Zach Geloff, he was a historic second baseman through his first couple of games last season. And I really like him, so I will take him as my favorite player. Coming down to the final 3 teams, we have the Houston Astros, and I'm going with their shortstop, Jeremy Pena. Jeremy Pena is one of the best players from my home state, Rhode Island, which really makes me like him because there's not too many players that make Major League Baseball from this state. So I really like him just because of that. Also, the way he plays is really fun to watch. I like the speed, I like the fielding, I like the power. We know how this goes by now. Jeremy Pena, I really like him just because of where he grew up, honestly. That's one of my favorite parts about him. The second to last team is the Seattle Mariners, and of course, I have to go with Julio Rodriguez. You know how it goes. Speed, fielding, power. J-Rod has it all. He's a true 5-tool player in just his 3rd season coming up. He's so fun to watch, and he's just a great player. I love J-Rod, one of my favorites. And the final team of the video, the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I love Corey Seager. I love Marcus Semien. However, I'm going with Nathan Eovaldi. As a Red Sox fan, Nathan Eovaldi was one of the clutchest players on my favorite team, especially in the 2018 playoff run where we won a World Series. Because of that, I'll always love Nasty Nate. He's incredible, and he just has some of the best control in baseball, and I'm a big sucker for control because I hate watching my pitchers walk people. I just love Nathan Eovaldi. I'll always appreciate what he did in 2018, and I miss him every day on the Red Sox. With that being said, that's my favorite player on every single team. Let me know in the comments who you disagree with and who your favorite players are on your favorite team, because I always like learning new things about new players, so let me know. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.